gear was fitted in the late 1980s. Present owners had it for over 20 years, Mr. Hayward from Wales, and it's still in working order. Now, and in fact, it's still in working order because it still works. 1980 Scammell Crusader now just gone past, the bright blue recovery vehicle. This is fitted with the UKA heavy recovery equipment, capable of lifting 65. Now the ERF KV tractor unit here, new to Robert Thorne, that endorsed it as a pole timber tractor, purchased in 2006 for preservation by Mr. Watson from Cumbria. We quite frequently get a whole fleet of enthusiasts down from Cumbria, but we haven't seen them lately since the show dates changed, unfortunately. 1951 Land Rover 80-inch, imported from New Zealand, restored by the current owner, Mr. Rickman from Hampshire. Nicely restored. This is exactly the way you would expect to have seen it when it was new, right down to its New Zealand number plate on the back. Now, 1950 Leyland, and this is the Super Hippo. Martin Watts brings us this one from Dorchester, and the Super Hippo was only ever intended as an export vehicle from Leyland. Scammell looked after most of their heavy haulage requirements, but Leyland had the heavy haulage Hippos going out, and this one went out on a cancelled export order. It went as far as Scotland. Late entry in today. And now number 40, that's the 1953 Chevrolet step-side pickup truck. And this was imported 20 years ago with a straight 6 petrolator. 1935 Bedford Tl, and that's the baker's van. And this was new to Becker's Bakeries, stored in a barn all through World War II, and now it's owned, been restored, and it's back in the this one. It was designed for general haulage, so it would have been a flatbed vehicle, and then later on had the curtain sign fitted as flatbed requirements changed with the extension of palletized on the theme actually, but this is some were four-wheel drive and some weren't, but they were actually for home use here in the UK. They weren't to go away with the military actually, they were for home use for decontamination purposes should there be a nuclear attack. The unrestored original engine and gearbox, no indicators fitted, but who needs them? You've got hands, haven't you? You can stick your hand out the side of a Land Rover with the bigger tail on there and the very useful high-ab. That's Mr. Phillips from Dorset, who's actually had it since 1915. That's 2015. AEC Militant now, and this is a 1951, so this is we've seen the series, the Mark III Militant. I suspect this is a Mark I, and Ellie Grace, bought from the ministry, ex-ministry vehicle by Benbro Brothers of Shrewsbury, who use it as a timber winch. And you can see here the timber crane is being carried in the upright position. A very, very practical, powerful vehicle. The 1951 Militant. Now this is a stretch cab Scania used in Eastern Europe. The stretch cab gives you more capability if you're away from home for a long time. You can live in the thing. Now used to destroy. 1957 Scammell Highwayman now, and that's worked new right up in Aberdeenshire, doing low loader work until the mid-1970s. Present owner purchaser in 2007, Mr. Wastel, there in Berkshire, and you can see that it's down there to almost show track specification there. '58 Ford Thames flatbed, and this is the 4D diesel. Very capable engine, this one. could well have been an ex-ministry vehicle, but I'm not absolutely sure about that one. Yes, she was new to the MOD. Did you put a loose body then? When she went into civilian life in 1968, and it's now got the cost cutter diesel in there, which is in 1968. Mr. Burton from Dorset. A ballast tractor, as you can see, it's weighted on the back. This will be used for a drawbar trailer. It's used as a steelworks vehicle in Stoke-on-Trent, and then later on a yard shunter. And it's now owned by Mr. Arthur from Somerset. And this is Mr. Babb brings us this one. You know to hang on here, don't you? And that's Mr. Babb there with the Wingate concrete mixer. Rochester actually fitted this concrete mixer there on the back. Wingate were specialists in building these sort of things. All the way down from Yorkshire, I'm proud of it too. Used by Chantrers of Gore for market deliveries, this 1977 Volvo F88 had a hard working life up and down the motorway between London and Gore, and then it carried on doing a brick and block work. Then it was a yard shunter, so it really always worked till it was restored by the Mr. Joy of Yorkshire. Then 101, and this was the wages van. Not quite a stagecoach, and I don't think it was ever held up when men did it with the wages around the American Air Force bases. That's Mr. Swift from Durham. The Raven Beaver now from 1949, new to Messrs. February's transport as a recovery truck. But now it's the third owner, so it was one of those Leylands that was actually first off a recovery truck when it was supplied. There's Mr. Edmonds from Wiltshire. Now the Mercedes Unimog 900, which is going straight down the hole, just to show us that axles, which were a feature of the Unimog. That's Mr. Davis in Dorset. And now the 1945 AEC Matador timber crane, and this is the Scania, and this is in Scania demonstrator livery, very smart livery, but all the Scania demonstrators were finished in this colour. And it's a 1987 Scania unit, new to a Suffolk haulage on general duties, and restored now into this livery by Mr. Edwards of Kent. '87 Bedford Tl. If you look at the colouring and the bodywork on there, if you think it's a little bit familiar, well yes, this is because this is the later BBC livery of the vehicles. They used to be dark green before this, and they went over to this colour, the blue and the brown, and this is one of their outside broadcast fleet, and that's the very nice example there of the BBC outside broadcast unit, but later used to transmit radio signals from Wales to London. Now all the way up from Cornwall, down there, based in Launceston, but not working anymore, this particular vehicle, because it's one of the cherished vehicles there that have been kept very well by the Andrew family. And this is the LV series, and the FBS. We always get mixed up with these particular Morris vehicle types. It's the FBS, and it's a Series 2 FBS, believed to be the only one still on the road. Certainly a very rare vehicle, restored in 2003, and that's the Andrew family there in Cornwall. As is indeed the Morris FF tipper, the 5-ton capacity tipper, and this was new to a coal merchant in Staffordshire. and has now found its home down there in Cornwall. Very nice example, both these two lorries of both vehicles which are quite unusual today, very unusual in many respects. And now the Leyland Cruiser articulated unit, and this one is the one that's responsible for bringing the two older ones up on the trailer at the back, because this is the family's, yes, this is a preserved vehicle, but it's also capable of going along and carrying the other vehicles up on the low loader trailer. And this is the Elsie May. All the vehicles in the fleet, the preserved fleet, are christened after family members, and is owned by John Andrew of Cornwall. Was originally worked by the Elstree Studios. 1979 Bedford Tl now. This was an aircraft refueler at Shorts, Belfast. Shorts, who built aircraft out there, and acquired by the present owner in 2010 and restored over the past 10 years. Fitted with a box body, and that's Mr. McRae from County Antrim. And found on a farm in poor condition in West Dorset. Restored by the owner, family and friends. A very nice restoration project, that one. Very well done. Mr. Orchard from Dorset. It'd be nice, you know, in 1972, the Commercial Motor Show, and was the most expensive exhibit there. And it was converted later to a flatbed and restored by the present owner, Mr. Matthias from Pembrokeshire. So it's a bit of Welsh heritage still in Wales. And now the Canadian Chevrolet timber tractor. This is one of those lease loan vehicles that came over during the Second World War. Possibly even only the 4-cylinder Perkins in, or it could have a P6. But it was put in for economy purposes when it was changed over to a timber crane. And that's Mr. Hillman from Avon. And now the Bedford O-Type now going past from 1946, and this is one of the very early editions after the war of the new civilian cab, used on a farm for hauling corn, and that's Mr. Andrews from Kettering. Now another one of those bus conversions. We've already seen one. Well, why throw a perfectly good commercial vehicle away? Just because one job's finished, you can use it for another. And here we have a very nice example, one of 84 built for London transport, based on the Guy Vixen chassis with Eastern coachworks body. Owned by a doctor after that in the 1970s, who converted it to a motor caravan to tour Athens. Great to see it back in this specification though, Mr. Smith from Wiltshire. And now just shooting past us, obviously we didn't have our hands up, and it's delivered to London Transport in 1960, and it's the AEC Routemaster bus fitted with, and the Routemaster of course was fitted with at least 3 different bodies. We are owned by Mr. Redstone from Somerset. It's a beautiful little light commercial van, very, very rare vehicle indeed. Significantly advanced mechanically to the 800 weight carrying capacity vans that we were manufacturing to British specifications, because of course the Bedford was an American. 1949 Bedford Scammell Arctic. So Bedford Scammell, what on earth's the Bedford Scammell? There it is. It's a Bedford. Well, it says Scammell as well. Well, Bedford's the bit you can see obviously. Scammell's the bit you can't see so easily. It's between the back wheels. It's the coupling gear, because they were designed to tow Scammell trailers, and it was a partnership between Bedfords and Scammells. The Bedford Scammell tractor unit. And now 960 Ford Thames 400E pickup, Ford console engine, and 3 gears in the gearbox, working off a column gear change. 1966 ERF now, known as Amy, and used for fruit and vegetable haulage in Manchester, and now owned by the Bedford family down in Wiltshire. They've had it for a few years too, I seem to remember. And now the Scammell Handyman from 1971, converted from a tractor unit to a ballast tractor in the 1990s. The Gardner 180 engine in there, and it's not carrying the Scammell gearbox, but the AEC gearbox. Mr. Matthias from Pembrokeshire. 1953 Guy bus here now, one of 84 built for London Transport, based on the Guy Vincent chassis, a very popular chassis for public transport. And this one was one of 84 built, owned by a doctor, well, once again, been around a bit. And it's owned by Mr. Smith down there in Wiltshire. Very nice example of the Guy bus. And some of these from London Transport stayed in service, some of them down on the seafront, wanted them again. And this one went down to Bournemouth. And the sightseeing buses that you see in London and places like Bournemouth, they're the open top buses of today. That's Mr. Foster from Dorset. You won't get round us sending us a couple of sweeties up, you know. And we don't do the judging in here, you know. No, we just make a noise in here. And that's the LD. They came in a 1 ton and a 30 hundredweight capability, and that's Dave Harold from up in the north end of Hampshire, somewhere in the wilds. Thinks we can get anywhere. Very nice example of the O series, that's the short bonneted Bedford with the 28 horsepower engine. No, this isn't a Bedford, this is an Austin. I know they look a bit similar. His Martin's changed vehicles and he's brought his dad's lorry around again. This lorry's been here for 46 years at the Great Dorset Fair, so it's only missed 4 of the 50, so it's been at 46 Dorsets. And that's the Brewers Tl, which has worked all around this area all its working life, from Sussex across Hampshire into Dorset. And now the 1959 ERF, you know you've got to stay in the arena. Make sure that one stays in if it like this one. Yeah. Alright, Peter. Well done, alright. They're on the game. And that ERF there, Benson's liveried ERF, is one of only 2 such vehicles surviving. Now the Mark 1, the early Transit there, and this is the diesel-powered Transit. See the extended bonnet on there. It wasn't a very successful diesel engine, admittedly, from Ford's point of view, but it's very nice to see such a nicely presented example out here in the arena this afternoon, just gone past. And now we've had so just to make sure I get it right today, they brought the lot in. And this is one of the most beautifully presented exhibits we've seen in the past. It's been a prize winner here before, I know. But we're not in charge of the judging, and anyway, that would have discharged through the pipes on the back, down for fittings, etc., on the building site. And now the Albion, and this is the Albion Chieftain from 1957. This is exactly as you see it. It's a flatbed lorry with the meat haulage box. It was exactly the right size to go on the canals or the railways, but it makes a nice living accommodation while it's on site. But it was restored by the late Bill Matravers in the late 1980s, now owned by Mr. Joy of Dorset. Bill Matravers, who was a regular here at the Great Dorset Steam Fair for many years. And just thundering past us now, the 1964 AEC Mogul, originally built for export, returned to the UK where it was used as a recovery vehicle before extensive restoration by Mr. Butler down here in Dorset. Now, Lambert Commercials from Broadstairs in Kent, they've got some interesting vehicles here this weekend, and this particular one is the Dennis Pax recovery vehicle, and he's staying in the arena as well. Lambert's recovery vehicle is going to stay in the arena, please. And that was new to Chichester Borough Council as a gully sucker. You know, one of those lorries that go around making gurgling noises in the drains at the side of the road. That's what this Dennis is. Came from Australia with only 12,000 miles on the clock, but it's now in the livery of Maidments, and that's brought to us from Mr. Whiteside from Dorset. 191 is the 1952 Scammell Showman's tractor. Very much a work of art, really. Just look at the way this has been restored and presented. It's not just a generator, it's not just a generating unit, it's a work of love, isn't it? Everything on there has been polished and it's all bright and shiny, and it's just the way that you could have seen it working on the funfairs. Very, very well presented there. Thank you very much for bringing it along. It's a beautiful example. And now back again to Ireland, because from County Armagh comes the Minish family with the ERF-B series, originally a fuel tanker unit. It went to the fairground Cape, very kindly donated it to someone to keep it in preservation, to save it going for scrap. And that's Mr. Minish and his family who are responsible for that from County Armagh. Nice to see you. 1970 ERF LV now, coming up towards us. Now look about it, the 8-wheeler. I think it's the first 8-wheeler we've seen around the arena this afternoon. We've seen Atkinson now, only of course in a rigid configuration. Now the Austin K4 again, another Austin, new to Crocker Williams of Bristol, later sold to Richardson's of Chard in Somerset. And Mr. Sage, who is based down in Chard there, is responsible for the restoration, preservation and presentation of this vehicle here this afternoon. Then on to transport and fairground rides around Kent and Sussex in 1975. And now the 1944 Bedford Tl. We've seen the RL series that is carried on from the QL earlier. Well, here's the QL. This is the Bedford that really was the vehicle which did all the backbone of British General Haulage during the Second World War, and it was part of the fire equipment at Morecambe Bay Fire Station, and is now owned by Mr. Joy from York. Now the Scammell MU, and this is a 1952 motive unit. It's had the high ab fitted after, but got a bit of fairly local history because for many years it was owned down in Hampshire and steam fair. That's the Scammell there, the Scammell unit which has just gone past, and it's great to see it restored and presented along with the living wagon down there in the display area. And then the Scammell Highwayman. And you can see there it's even got its own pet triceratops on the radiator cap, although that particular triceratops has got rather peculiar dentition for a vegetation eating animal. But it's the Scammell unit there, which is Lady Boadicea, isn't it? Yeah, Lady Boadicea from 1962. Designed for use with articulated trailers, but now owned by the Waitsell family from Berkshire. The 1957 Scammell Highwayman man worked hauling fairground rides with the Webb family and the Armstrong family, named Elizabeth after Queen Elizabeth, and it's the Wayswords again from Berkshire who brought us this one. '55 Land Rover Series 1, and it's the Land Rover Turbo Brave Minute. He's a long-term exhibitor at the Great Dorset Steam Fair. This vehicle's done all sorts of things in its working life. It's been just about everything except a fire engine, but that hasn't stopped him putting the bell on the front. But there's the Series 1, the AUC Marshall. It was initially a tipper here, but you can still see the rams up there. Well, I don't think they want to tip it this weekend, because I suspect they're probably living in it. It's the 1976 AEC tipper, and it's Mr. Akehurst for East Suffolk. '76 Bedford TK now. Of course, the TK had been around for quite a time by '76 because it came out almost 20 years before that. It was a long-running produced vehicle for Bedford. Really a successful vehicle. Converted to a ballast tractor, and it's owned by Mr. Hampson from Lincolnshire. And now, Scammell Technology Unipower built. And it's commissioned by Alexander, it's got the Cummins 400 engine in there, the 6x4, so it's a four-wheel drive there on the back two axles. Brought to us this afternoon by Lee Water, who's driven it. Yes, it's been driven all the way down from Warwickshire, towing part of the family's land train down here to the Great Dorset Steam Fair. And I'm very grateful actually to the Water family this weekend, because they brought their Ford kitchen unit down, which meant during a power failure I was able to have breakfast supplied, so it's very nice, thank you. And that's Lee Water with his Unipower ballast tractor there. And now the Scammell 6x6. Serious enthusiasts only. I think we're looking to getting rid of this one, are we, to rationalise the fleet? You're still looking to sell this one? You might, but it's on the way. Yeah, you've got somebody interested. I'm not surprised. It's a marvellous vehicle. It's an example of the military drops vehicle, which was designed to pick up containerised specific freight to go to frontline locations. It could have been carrying armaments, it could have been carrying food, supplies, anything. But they took containers to where they had to go behind the front lines, dropped them off and ran back to the next one. Military transport just behind the front lines, and that's what these drops units were actually designed for. And there's Mick Waters from Warwickshire there, with his Scammell 6x6 drop unit. The little Austin here, and this is the Austin recovery truck, and it's owned by Mr. Osborne from Wiltshire, 1952, the Austin K series recovery truck there. K9, which was very much the military recovery truck. And, they all like the chance, don't they? Well, we can give them that opportunity in contact with the road surface, no matter what configuration of ground surface you're driving over. And this made the Scammell Explorer such a versatile cross-country vehicle. The Explorer they started producing in 1950, and because he's put it up on a rather specialist display ramp, he wants to go out the same gate that he came in. Otherwise he can't get back up on his ramp again. So, here's Chunk from Warwickshire now, and this is the vehicle. If you haven't seen it, you should go down and see it when he puts it back on display. because I don't know which set of axles he's going to put up this time. Probably the front one, because that's easier to get into position with the safety factor with all the people in the show at the moment. But the versatility of these vehicles is, you'd think they were one big solid lump, but they're not, because it doesn't matter what. Look at the way, you see the way the wheels, it's not showing exactly, but those wheels are always in contact with the ground. And if that was rigidly built, there would have been a position there both going up and going down that you would have lost drive with the first of the two prize winners, and the prizes were being presented by Dave and Pauline Hillier, who ran this section for 31 years. And they're very much respected, loved and remembered down here at the Great Dorset Steam Fair. And now the best breakdown vehicle, is going to receive its prize, and this is the Trevor Williams car. And now the top for the best ERF, and that goes to Mr. Connor, with the Ken Faithful restored beautiful example here of the Benson's delivery van. Now the best Bedford, now we got them coming in this way because the sunlight. Yes, we're not photographing against the sun, but it may not be so easy with the large exhibits because we can't. We're not going to turn round so well.
I bet it will. The opposite is really good.
As you can see, the standard of restoration of these vehicles is something really exceptional. And the boat concrete tanker now, we've seen a demonstration as to some of the things that's been done to it to make it a practical exhibit as a showground. So it's not only being exhibited, but the people who are responsible for it can live in comfort as well when they're looking after it. Very, very sensible and beautifully restored vehicle. And sympathetically done, because there is no sign that this is anything other than what it should be. So, and that goes to Mr. Chambers from Northern Ireland. And not to be outdone. But you can see what I mean about these scammel axles. If you were watching that, you'd see that the wheels did actually lose contact with the ground as they went over the bumps. Just fractionally going up and going down. For a military vehicle in the combat zone, to keep all your drive capabilities going all the time is of supreme importance. course it doesn't matter so much with these, because these concrete delivery vehicles, they went to building sites, they went to all sorts of places. There was always a nickname, you know, amongst road haulage operators for these different cab designs. It always got a nickname, like the FG was the Threepenny Bit cab, or this particular cab, and the Scammell, the first fiberglass Scammells, they were the cheese grater cabs. Well, if you look at this cab, I suppose you can see where they got the idea from, because of the expression of the front of the cab, basically. These were known as the Mickey Mouse cabs. Well, there's absolutely nothing Mickey Mouse about the restoration on this vehicle. It's spot on and beautifully presented here today. This is the best in show, the best commercial vehicle in the show this afternoon. Or over the period, of course, of the Great Dorset Steam Fair. So that's the best in show on this section. Well done to all our exhibitors, and thank you very much for a wonderful parade this afternoon. And we're really grateful again. It's wonderful to have seen Dave and Pauline back here amongst the exhibitors. Every year, you know, exhibitors say, have you heard how Dave and Pauline are? What day are they going to be coming up to?